Welcome, guys, to another episode. It's your boy Indigo Child. It's Kids Cafe is another space where we bring in the most enticing, thought-provoking, young fusion of people that have clocked some few kilometers in their life. Yes, and
ADAKHO, how are you?
I'm well, my brother. How are you? I'm good.
good, man. It's been a long time.
Nice to be in the dialogue.
When was it? Last year?
Was it last year? I think.
No, can't be last year because we did see each other this year.
Yeah. We saw each other, but it was a brief interview.
Yeah, brief. Said, hey, what are you up to?
But yeah, a lot has been happening.
A lot has been happening. And what's on the top of your head when you say a lot?
Oh, it's just politics studies.
Hey, isn't it such an interesting time to be involved or even study being a politics student in this interesting
A
time?
very interesting time, especially as you're analyzing how things are unfolding, especially with this wild card called Trump.
So Kalile.
These 7 months feel like 2 years ago. There's so much nonsense he's doing. He has been making a massive change, okay, in global politics. And I don't know whether you want me to explain.
Go on. This is your platform. I would like you to take on if you feel free. Feel free. I'm not gonna stop you or hinder you. The thing I think most of what I really want to guide into is conducting this to give you a free space, and I'll do my follow-up questions that I think really bring about what I want to get my audience to do, because I think overall you're a fully finished product of there is a message you want to lay in. So here's to my point.
With the election of Trump and his inauguration in January, I feel like there's been massive shifts globally, and there's a massive global realignment that we are not seeing that's happening behind the scenes. Trump came with an extremely aggressive approach to diplomacy and international relations and just global politics in general. If he didn't do the typical American politics of smiling but putting a knife in your back and so on, he was just very direct and confrontational, which then makes not even threaten actually. It forces other leaders to take certain stance in order to protect their own interests. Like, for instance, we are starting to see a global realignment. Europe starting to get closer to the People's Republic of China, something that we never did.
Yes.
That would happen in our lifetime. We are seeing South Africa with the pressure they are putting on us, forcing us to choose sides.
Yes, and I hate that.
But unfortunately, that's just the reality of the matter. South Africa is too small of an economy compared to the United States for us to say anything to them. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of power.
I would even say militia power.
Nothing. We can't compete with them in any way of shape or form, which is why it is important for us as an African continent to unite on certain matters. That is when you can go to a table with the President of the United States and engage as equals. Because now when you go, they are just some puppet.
Yeah, and it's even said with Ramaphosa, when Thingy was there, it felt like, who's this champ? So Rupert. When I was there, it felt like you're not worthy. Bring me your handler. I want to speak to your handler while I give you a backhand. So I think you're right when you say, let us speak as equals, where you don't feel like you have one hierarchy power over me than the other, you know?
It's a very unfortunate reality. I even had my reservations when I saw in the beginning that Johan Rupert was on the guest list. Like, who elected him?
We don't want to speak
to put a handler whose interest is representing there. But it just showed us the reality of our country. That in fact, as South Africa, we do not have a government which agitates for the interests of the people. The government that we have actively agitates to maintain the status quo, to maintain the interests of the poor, of the rich minority, 1%, of people like Oppenheimer, people like Rupert, and so on and so forth. It's unfortunate, but that just put all of these things to the forefront.
But because Angisho, they're the ones owning most of the means of production, becomes of their interest as well. They're the elite.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the issue. Why are all the means of production concentrated in the hands of a small minority? Why is that the issue? It gives them unfettered power over our government. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Do you remember last year after elections, there was a brief intermission where they had to form government.
Yes.
So now they are looking for coalition partners and going on negotiation with different political parties and so on and so forth. There was a time where there was a suggestion made that the ANC is looking into a coalition with the EFF. Do you remember?
I remember that.
I remember that.
Do you remember the reaction from the markets at that point in time?
Everyone was like, hey.
Just from the mere suggestion that the ANC would go get into bed with the EFF, the stock market started to collapse, which is a massive issue. What does that do? Let us not stop thinking of markets as if they are some kind of deity or some god that we have to appease. Understand? The markets are a group of individuals and companies who share similar interests. All these people move in the same circles, so they have contact with each other and so on and so forth, and all those kind of things. So it is a targeted attempt to strong arm the government into taking the specific positions. We cannot allow that. We have conceded too much ground in the economy, while now we have absolutely no access of our own economy.
It's like one thing you say. I think we had a conversation last night, and as I said, the reason why, in the context of what you're saying, Gutsi, the market started shaking, is that
From a stance of
everything neutralism, EFF feels like it's about to revolt. That's why the market would almost be conflicted. And how do you think we can bring that to, like, say, no, we are not here to strike arms and whatever. We're here to just here for the black people.
Our role is not to convince the markets whether we want to revolt or not. Let them think what they want to think. Our role is to convince our people that the program we are offering is in their best interest, and it is the only way to remove them from obscurity. That is our role. They are not afraid of revolt. They are not afraid of coup d'etats. We have not attempted anything of the such. If we wanted to do it, we've tried at least a long time ago. But that's not what we are doing now. What they are afraid of is a party that will take political power and utilize that political power to break the monopolies they have over the years. That is what they are afraid of.
That's exactly.
A party that will directly confront their interests head on. Everything that they stand for, we are diametrically opposed to it. You understand that? So that is what shakes them. It's not a matter of EFF being anarchists and they are ready to revolt.
Realism.
Those are just smoke screens. They want you to believe that.
Yeah.
When in fact, they are basically convincing you to vote against your own best interests. So that is just the crux of the one.
You're deputy chairperson of the Economic Freedom Fighter, Ward 125, and you're studying PPE.
What have you learned
from the whole time of your political consciousness, and what strikes you to almost be strongly with EFF? This is from a natural naked eye. To also know who is this person that's so invested in this political conversation that we're trying to have now.
So what are you asking me? What are you asking me specifically?
When do you think when did you regain your political consciousness?
When did I get my political consciousness?
Yeah, where did you get it in that context?
I was conscious politically for a very long time, since I was a child. I got active in politics, but at that time I didn't know what I was doing. I was clueless. But I thought just shouting and making a lot of noise, I thought that was politics. But I got introduced into politics by my grandmother, who was a chairperson of the ANC Women's League.
Wow.
In her ward. So she was very active. And also my uncle was also still involved in politics. Yeah, Steve used to bring books and newspapers, so I started reading from a young age and all those kind of, and I found inspiration from ideas of
And what type of books would he give you?
not just biographies, sometimes political biographies on people like Sir Robert Sobukwe Krezan and those kind of people. Newspaper clippings, newspaper that he had read, usually read it as well. And I got the natural taste and passion for revolutionary or liberation ideology. That's where I got it.
And where are you trying to take it?
Right now, I do not necessarily have any kinds of ambitions. Yeah.
I think it's a good thing when I hear that, because everyone wants to make a career out of this.
No, this thing is not a career.
Yeah, it's about lifestyle also.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, it's a contribution you can give. Yeah. So my main goal now is to serve the organization. The organization represents the ideals in which I believe in. So my biggest mission now is to give back somehow. I don't care how, whether I'm a water boy,
Human capital.
yeah, human capital, I'm cleaning, no matter what capacity or what role they assign to me. Economic freedom means electricity for those who know electricity, water for those who don't have water, a roof over their heads over those who are homeless, hope for the destitute, food for the hungry. In simple terms, it means opportunity for Black people, access to the economy. That's the most basic way I can put it. That's what economic freedom is. Yeah,
Because when I also think of it, I'm not saying give us jobs. When I say economic freedom, I'm saying we want prosperity. So the word that comes to my mind is prosperity and ownership. Some Marxist critiques that it's really outdated, and in the Industrial Revolution, what's your take on the more relevant and the radical upgrade of this Marxist ideology?
you can't necessarily say it's outdated because you can say the same as it's capitalism. When was capitalism conceptualized? In the 1700s, but it's still very prevalent.
But it works more. Marxism works more in theory.
But who said it works more in theory?
I think it's the way of how we see it. Capitalism is what's prominent and what people want, and ownership of the means of own production, and let's get into entrepreneurship.
But Marxism in itself does not necessarily say you must completely abolish entrepreneurialism, but it only depends on where you are on the spectrum.
If you're far left,
yeah, that's where you advocate for complete and utter state control of all sectors of the economy. If you are closer to the center, you want to allow for some private ownership, but control over the key sectors of the economy. Like, for instance, the EFF does not advocate for nationalization of everything. We are simple. We are saying that we need to establish a state-owned mine, not nationalize the entire industry. We are saying we need to establish a state-owned bank and not nationalize the entire industry as well. We are saying we need to nationalize the land and not just basically take all the land from white people and so on and so forth. We need to nationalize the land so we can do a comprehensive land audit. After completing the land audit, we can redistribute parcels of land which are not used or underutilized. Okay. That is what. So this whole thing of saying we are radical, it's just a fear-mongering. They understand if we introduce a state-owned bank, it will force them to be competitive.
Yeah.
Because right now it is I don't know what you call a monopoly of 5 banks. So it's basically something like that. I don't know.
Would you say consortium? Fact check.
But it's something like that. It's Nedbank, Absa, Capitec, FNB, and all these other small ones. I think these 5 big banks control about 90% of market capitalization. So they collaborate with each other to set prices and exploit the consumer. What happens if there is another player on the block with some serious financial backing like the state? It forces them to be competitive because firstly, the state will not be there to make profit. A state-owned bank will just be there to generate enough money to keep itself afloat. But the main mandate of that bank would be to fund our people. Because the biggest bottleneck for entrepreneurship for Black people particularly is funding.
Hey, Fundy.
That is the biggest hurdle that we have to come across. So what do we do when we introduce a state-owned bank? We'll be able to introduce loans, which are flat rates, 0% interest, and all kinds of things. We'll be able to give our people guarantees or financial backstops and many of other things that may enable our people to progress. And there's precedents set for this kind of thing. It's not like we just came out of this idea just fell out of the sky. There is a precedent that has been set. The People's Republic of China did it, India did it, and it yielded enormous and incredible results for the ordinary person. And that is what we want to do. Why there is so much pushback against this kind of idea? It will also force these ones to compete. So they do not want that. They are very comfortable in just controlling the industry and setting prices while you are the biggest loser as a consumer.
The progressive left, which is the Marxist, like especially the left side, is a broad church, but they're always not united. What fractures you to see, like what fractures do you see amongst school campuses like today, and how you deal with them being diluted to vision?
Like what fracture?
Yeah, fracture. Would you say there is amongst political knowledge amongst even school campuses, especially with the progressive left?
Is that among political parties or amongst the student populace?
I think student populists, yes.
So I think there is, like the previous guest said something that stood out to me. Yes. As young people, we have this bad habit of thinking that we are disconnected from politics. It's like, for instance, if you go to SRC elections and you speak to students and all these kind of things, there are people who tell you, but they are not into politics. And I always find that so baffling. Because how can you say you are not into politics when politics is the reason why you are defunded? How can you say you are not into politics when politics is the reason why you have been evicted from your res? And many other, a myriad of issues that we face are linked to politics. And yet when I want to disassociate yourself, you don't want to have a say in what happens to your own future. So it is a matter of having young people who are ready to go and conscientize other young people, to make them realize the importance of being involved in such spaces. That politics is not necessarily a matter for old people where you go to parliament and have some kind of long-winded debates on many things that are not interesting. It affects your everyday life, whether you have electricity, whether there's water shedding, whether the trash has not been collected, whether you have access to opportunities. All of it ultimately is linked to politics. And we need to start to internalize that as young people. How do you think? And take our place.
She mentioned as well, Nompumelelo, Khumalo, the previous guest, she mentioned that making politics fun. And what is your idea of making politics fun?
I think you guys are taking a bold first step. I think so. With podcasts, that's where we can reach the most young people.
Yes. No, because I'm also saying that I don't get to watch young people doing podcasts about political agendas and political phenomena. I only hear these older guys will pay big platform. So it becomes a tricky thing to like, where do we go? And what's your idea of making politics fun? And what do you think is the idea of EFF making students more engaged with politics? They don't most probably need to engage with maybe EFF, but how do you think we can bring them to the ear of politics so you can hear EFF speak?
Firstly, it's through platforms like yours, where podcasts, people can go and access it easily on social media, on YouTube, and many other platforms. They can start to see these individuals, which seem like some of them seem larger than life in reality, but they're also just human. They're also relatable. They have shared the same stories. They have the same aspirations and so on and so forth. That's the beginning. That's the start. In order to get you more engaged in this kind of dynamics, Reading is also important.
Oh wow, yeah.
Unfortunately, this is something we cannot escape.
Yeah, really.
It's not nice to read, I understand. But it's important.
I think reading it becomes fun if you find what's really thought provoking to you. I think you need to be really be handed something to you. But yeah, I think as these ideas you are pushing, I think here's a fun book or something. What else?
Yeah, you must like you said, you must also look for your niche. Yeah, what you like in politics. Some people are more interested in history. Some are more interested in the economics of things. But find what you are interested in. That eventually unlocks the entire broader picture. So that's just the low-hanging fruits on how to get the young people engaged in this kind of things. But it's tough. Like, for instance, I've tried to engage young people in suburbs.
Oh, hey.
Kunzima. Bathi labafana bawuxelelwa ngoyi-YN and who's this one of Ghostfluby, and that's what they want to focus on, unfortunately. That's just and I'm not saying there's a problem with that. Yabo. But it's a disconnect between young people who are interested in politics and the interests of those who are not interested in politics. Sometimes there are no there is no
The relation ukuthi even nayo uGosihlubi uzokhuluma ngoRamaphosa lapho athi yeah.
that challenge of navigating those waters. How do you link this thing of YNs and Latwizes and the Mandems and all this thing with our politics? So that is the challenge that I see most student leaders, most youth leaders, activists are finding right now. Is that disconnect?
I find them to be more closer to political influences. With the age now, it almost feels like, especially the cadres at SRC, so not most, some, especially with the lingo they speak, it's like it feels like, wow, you really almost feel like you're more influencing than trying to make a change. Because I've met you, and you legit ask me what are you struggling with, what are they doing in your, maybe even I remember last time you even asked me what's happening within even your department, is there any faulty thing? And most of them, I don't think they're asking those questions. And how do you think we can spot them out and say, hey, no, you just want me to just buy the t-shirt and come to the branch meetings and nothing? How do you even promote participation?
You need to look past the charisma.
Nah. Because the charisma gets a lot of people.
Does look at people like Ethan Mackenzie who have absolutely no plan, who have no ideas, but they are just loud and people follow. So you need to be able to look past the charisma and see and actually grasp and critically analyze what they are saying. Whether what they are saying has any kind of substance whatsoever, that is up to you. It is up to your own critical reasoning and for you to form, to take a position. For instance, let me just give an example. If I tell you something, Marx, it is your responsibility to take what I am listening to, or what I am saying, dissecting it, analyzing it, and then taking your own position based on what you've thought. You cannot just accept everything you hear as dog. That is our biggest problem. We just accept whatever we are told without questioning it. And in order for us to avoid the hyenas and the vultures, we ought to question. We ought to question everything they do. We ought to question everything they say. And that is how you can check the qualities of a lead.
Okay. So let's get radical now. What does decolonized South African economy look like to you? Just paint a picture.
Decolonized South African economy. The decolonized South African economy is an economy which is not controlled by a small minority, firstly, where there is participation from the majority. Our people are participating not only as labor, and where they are going to the market to sell their labor, but as owners of the means of production themselves. Also, it is also it also looks like, for instance, if you have a job, you are able to pay your own bills. You are not going month to month trying to catch up on bills. You have a little bit of excess money, no matter what job you are doing. You are able to live decently. Well, that is what decolonization in a nutshell of the economy might entail. But it's a slippery slope.
Okay.
It's a slippery slope.
Would you say you have a political hero?
Yeah, I do. There's quite a few. People like Chris Zana, people who are particularly inspiring for Chris Zana, but they've left everything to pursue the liberation of their people.
There's a ground video that's trending on social media of him exposing what happened when they were with the meetings. I don't know if you have seen it.
What meetings? Kodesa.
The Kodesa meetings.
And I think it's ADAKHO. And when they were telling them that now they have to, now everything has to lay to rest, and he as a soldier had to just listen to his Armstrong. And what would you say to someone even like yourself that wants a radical change, but now you realize that your leader wants you to now calm down? What's your take into that?
It comes with organizational discipline. So you willingly join this organization. So you need to allow yourself to be led by the people you elected, because those people are not imposed on you. At the end of the day, you go to conferences, you elect leadership and all kinds of things. So unfortunately, once a decision has been taken, not only by leaders, by the collective, you have to put down your own ego and toe the line. That is organizational discipline. As a soldier, as a revolutionary, that is the toe line of march that you have to take. Once it has been given and the consensus has been reached, you have absolutely no room to maneuver, no room to complain. You just have to do it.
Sorry, I did cut you off there would you say Chris Hani?
Yeah, it was Kuzani, Stibiko, of course,
There you, Mr.
Robert Sobukwe, people like Mao Zedong,
Going deep.
Vladimir Lenin, Shaka, even our kings, actually. Abo Jomsobo Vumakoma in the Eastern Cape.
I read an article about King Inza.
King Hinsa as well.
He was brutally murdered by Makanda.
Yeah.
My interest was Fanon.
Fanon.
Oh, Francis Fanon was too crazy. Last semester we read a book, his Black Skin, White Mask. Wow. He does a psychoanalytical analysis onto what marginalization and the segregation of people did to the psyche of the people, even from the people that did it and the people that were oppressed. So it leaves a really backlash into, are you aware what politics is doing to your psyche?
What do you mean, am I aware of what politics is doing?
No, but
I'm just saying in a way of, I think there's a state of level where you reach where it's like, to a normal ear, it sounds like, yo, I can never have a conversation with this guy, because they make me feel like, because I won't lie, when you do speak to someone that is in the leadership roles and politics space, it feels like, no, this person simply just is doing this as a career as well. And it feels like I'm not in the space of talking to this person. And what's your take into dealing with with how you perceive it?
You just need to adjust your level of engagement. Like, for instance, if you are speaking to a lay person, in terms of politics, of course, everyone has their own areas of expertise. And you can see that this person is not necessarily following what you are saying. You just need to adjust your level of engagement and bring yourself down to that level. Because not everyone is an expert on politics. I understand that. Just like I wouldn't be able to go and perform a heart surgery, or I wouldn't be able to go and balance the books at KPMG. So it's a matter. Yes, it's tough. It gets a little difficult and it's frustrating, especially if you can tell whether that someone is so completely ignorant of what is happening around them. It gets a little bit frustrating. But you just need to adjust your level of engagement to that level. And then you can be able to engage properly.
okay.
Seeing that a lot of people are politically fatigued, there's a lot of political fatigue amongst young people. Are we losing the radical edge in general? Or are we not? Are you guys not interesting us? What's happening?
I think young people are not interested in politics because there is nothing that the leadership that we see currently in contemporary politics, in mainstream politics, that is offering young people, specifically. Unfortunately, young people view all politicians with the same lens, but they are there for politics of self-gratification. They are there to accumulate for themselves and their families and many other things, which the ANC in itself had become an embodiment of. And then the ideas that the ANC embody have now poisoned the rest of political parties, which some might have a vision for this country and might have good intentions of where they want to take the country. But unfortunately, it has been tainted by what has been happening for the past 30 years. And unfortunately for us as Black people, instead of taking our anger to the polls and punishing the political party which put us in this position, we stay away. And who votes? It's the own people who have been supporters of the ANC since the strike times. They are the ones who go to vote, therefore the ANC keeps on winning year in, year out. And that just has to change. We are not angry enough. Because if we were angry, we would have taken our votes and went to the polls and punished these very same people who are stealing from us. Because, for instance, if you are given a tender to pay 500 houses and you eat that money, it's not a victimless crime. There are 500 people now who don't have houses because of your greed. You understand those kind of things? Why are we so comfortable in accepting that kind of situation as young people in this country? Young people in Kenya stood up.
I think it's also like what young. Oh yeah, just to lay before Coach there's a question. I think it's a matter of people also. Yes, us young people also aspire to that type of life. With these people, not that they are stealing, but the life now they are living. I think becomes a thing which we can accept. But other than that, Coach has some few questions for you.
Yeah, can I please ask? I want you to play out a scenario right now in your head. So I want you to please let us know, like, if EFF took power tomorrow with like majority, sorry. What are the first 5 laws you could pass if you had to be in a position to pass laws if the EFF, because I can see a very proud EFF supporter. So yeah, can you play out that scenario for us?
There are already 7 cardinal pillars and 7 priorities of the EFF. But when we take power, these are the first things we are going to do. Firstly, we are going to expropriate land without compensation. Like I said earlier, we nationalize the land, we do a comprehensive land audit. After compiling that land audit, all land that is unused or underutilized, we give it to people who will use it. That will increase agricultural output astronomically. Secondly, we want to give free higher education and quality healthcare for our people. Because I don't know, a lot of people say people like free things, but is free higher education really free? Because after getting your degree as a doctor that the state paid for, you will now go and pay taxes, and that money will be recalibrated in taxes anyway. So it's, even if you look at it from a capitalist perspective, it makes sense. You understand? Thirdly, we want to industrialize the economy. So move ourselves from being being primarily in the primary sector, moving to the secondary sector, manufacturing sector, to create jobs. Because that's the most labor-intensive industries.
So I don't know. From my understanding, that please correct me. It's an understanding of when you move into the secondary sector, whatever, instead of exporting our raw minerals and stuff, let's rather beneficiate, make those Rolex and whatever, and that's when we can offload it. Okay.
Because in the process of transforming the iron ore into steel, if we just take the iron ore to China, how many jobs have we lost there? in that process. So beneficiation, yes, we can leverage our mineral endowments in order to create jobs, in order to kickstart industrialization. But you can also do it in other ways by forming special economic zones in townships, ensuring that the jobs are in townships, in the former homelands, the places now we call rural areas. We make them special economic zones. We give tax incentives and incentives on electricity and all kind of things to encourage manufacturers to build and create jobs there. Because we are trying to decentralize the economy. The bulk of the economy is focused in Gauteng. And people have to leave their home provinces in Eastern Cape, in Limpopo, in Northwest, to all come here to Gauteng to find work opportunities. So what we are saying, Tina, is no, let us create special economic zones in Eastern Cape, in KZN, in Limpopo, in Northern Cape, in Northwest, and all these other provinces, so that people may have access to job opportunities where they stay. So that you don't have to break up families.
Displacement of family becomes another
It
process,
becomes a massive problem.
even trauma.
It becomes traumatic.
So next question for me would be like,
We live under the neoliberal global order. Do you believe in any room for reform with capitalism, or does it have to collapse entirely?
Unfortunately, if we were to collapse tomorrow, there'd be too much collateral damage. So I believe in a radical shift for more state intervention and state control over vital sectors of the economy. But it must be done in a way which will not collapse the economy. Because at the end of the day, we don't want our own people to even suffer. If we suffer, it must be for a short period.
Whether the far left Marxists are saying let's bring it down, and
The anarchists.
they're saying let's bring it down and bring it up again.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that notion. Because at the end of the day, our people will be the very same people we say we are saying will be the ones who suffer the most in that kind of situation. Tina, it will be easy to say that because, for instance, let's say you are a leader somewhere. You're in union buildings, you are tucked away, you are comfortable, you have your food, you get access to everything you want, but your people are the ones who are suffering. So you must always think about the impact it will have on those very same people. Put yourself in their shoes. The people that you are leading. So no, I completely disagree.
Okay.
Yes, we need a radical shift to the left, but not that far left.
If it were to happen, how long do you think it'll have to? How long will it take for it to go down?
For a complete restructuring of the economy, it could take 5 to 10 years. If you are aggressive enough, that's short. It could definitely happen in such a short period of time. Because look, for instance, I will take
I'm looking at 30. I was thinking 30, 40 years.
this way too long. Great Britain after the war, to look at the measures that they took. They nationalized the railways, they nationalized certain aspects of the economy. And it didn't take them very long to rebuild afterwards. They had rebuilt by the mid-50s, and the war ended in 1945. So it wouldn't take very long to restructure the economy and redirect those resources to where they are needed most. That is, if the government is aggressive enough, not this laissez-faire mentality that we are taking now. But no, the market forces and fix it. No. Capitalism doesn't solve problems where there is no profit.
Do you have any ideologies that you follow intensively like that?
There are ideologies which form my basic principles. Okay. Marxism is the basic principles which I view the political world around me. It is the political lens that I view the world. Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a communist. Okay. I do not believe communism is possible. I would call myself rather a socialist. So far, not very far left, center, left. So that's where I am. Yeah. I'm more pragmatic more than anything. I'm a practical person. I believe in taking what works and implementing it. And we have seen throughout the world in many different parts that the most robust way to get an economy moving is to ensure that there is a massive state intervention. Even these so-called beacons of neoliberalism today, the Great Britain, when their economy was in crisis, they intervened drastically. The United States, when their economy was in crisis after the Wall Street crash, they intervened dramatically. Japan, they intervened dramatically. The Chinese economy, all about that. In Vietnam, in Singapore, we have seen. We have seen in many different parts of the world. But that's what happens, and that's what gets the economy moving forward. So that is what I'm advocating for, a more aggressive intervention into the economy by the state in order to stimulate the productive forces, so to speak, through banks, through state-owned enterprises, and so on and so forth, about funding venture capital, and many other ways you can do it. But I would classify myself as being center-left, but with a Marxist means of analysis in analyzing the economy and the political dynamics.
Wow. And with this whole Marxist ideology, do you, at some argue saying just giving people everything makes them a bit lazy? What do you think of that? Or is that a misconception?
For instance, how is giving someone education making you lazy? You still have to study to get the degree.
Maybe social grants, let's speak social grants.
By necessity, to ensure that no one is comfortable getting a 350. If I give you a 350 marks in Goku, how long do you think it will last? So that is just a small buffer to keep people out of poverty. We are not saying it is a sustainable means to keep people out of poverty indefinitely. It is to say the idea of a social grant is that if someone is down on their luck, things happen, we know this is life, and then you find yourself out of a job, you shouldn't be starving.
Okay, yeah.
You see, that is the idea of a social grant. But the way it's happening now, where the vast majority of the population is getting social grants, is unsustainable. It's not supposed to be like that. The majority of the people should be working. Social grants should be getting. The people who should be getting social grants are those who are unlucky for the period that they are looking for work, so that at least they can have money to apply, to print copies, to move around, and all those kind of things. Yeah, so I believe in social grants. It is a necessity. It helps. It's not sustainable as a means of feeding people indefinitely. Yes, but it is necessary.
Okay. What is the biggest misconception about Marxism and maybe EFF? Marxism, personally, EFF. But
I think the biggest bottleneck or the hurdle and misconception for people when analyzing Marxism, they tend to think it is something that needs to be taken and implemented religiously or followed dogmatically. You see, so yes, unfortunately, Marx lived in a completely different time. So he viewed the world in a different perspective. So we need to take from Marx what we can, what still applies, and adapt it to the South African situation. That is the biggest misconception, is that you can just go and take everything and implement it as this. And no, that it can't work like that.
that's what they'll say. It works better in theory.
No, it can't work like that. We need to adapt it to the realities of South Africa and then move like that. Secondly, the biggest misconception with the EFF, I would say, is self-hate. Because we are told left, right, and center that we will be like Zimbabwe if the EFF comes in and so on and so forth, which is wrong. The policy that of land expropriation that Robert Mugabe introduced is not what we are advocating for.
So, ADAKHO, as the deputy chairperson of the economic freedom fighting, how do you think you can recruit? How do you recruit personnel? How do you say recruit? How do you get people involved with EFF?
At a branch level, we don't have access to many resources. Both actually in the EFF in general, there's not too much resources at our disposal. But what we do is we put in the hours, speak to people, try to spread the word, engage people, like in personal interaction, one-on-one interaction, try to get to know what issues they are facing, and if you can help, try to help, engage, also try to spread the message in those kind of ways. But the most important way to do it, and the most pertinent, most effective way to do it, that's a better word, is to speak to people individually, on an individual basis, like and engage with them about their realities and how our program relates to them. Yes, and that's the best. Yeah, that's the most important way. And getting area grassroots. We don't do rallies and all kinds of things. It's just doing person to person, and then we engage like what.
Okay.
Apani, vulana mehlo nijonge. Things are happening, things are in motion. You do not want to be left behind as young people. You ought to fight for your position at the table by any means necessary. And you have to ensure that we stop begging for what is ours. We take it with both hands. We take our power. We ensure that we have a role to play in our own futures. The future is not some mall waiting for you. We start to build it today. So work towards your goal and let us fight for our country and fight for our futures. These ANC Madalas will not be there in 30 years when we are suffering. So it is time to take an active stand and fight for our futures.
How can we say to Idwana Sekas that would love to join EFF that resonates with the ideologies that you have said to me and would like to affiliate themselves with them? Yeah, and what's your take?
If you can go to anyone wearing EFF regalia if you don't have access to internet. But if you have access to internet, you can just go online and fill up the membership form there, pay the 10 rand membership fee, and you'll be a member. You'll be updated into the system, and then they will direct you to the relevant branch. But if you are living somewhere around Johannesburg, sub-region F, which is central Johannesburg, which is Bramfontein, Johannesburg Central, and Johannesburg South, you can contact me directly on my Instagram, x.dakho3, or my or my email at ADAKHO XOTONGO43@gmail.com, and I will direct you to the relevant person.
Yeah, once again, guys, it's Kids Cafe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the page. And once again, we have this is the second sit down, yeah?
Yeah.
The first sit down, actually, we just had a default of audio and stuff like that. But I thank God, Bootsy, most probably this is what was needed. And definitely, I don't think this is also still the last session. I think the next session that I would really like to incorporate is bringing all of you. I think having all different guys from different political parties, then having you guys in a sit down. I think that would really be so dope.
Or that be true.
Yo, that would be a thriller. That would be a thriller. Yeah. But otherwise, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Once again, we're at Africa Tumi Studios. If you'd like to have a podcast, have a photo shoot, you know who to contact. The details are below. If you want an extensive photography shoot, don't forget to check out Malume Snaps. Malume Snaps, right? Yes, Malume Snaps on the dot. And thank you to the crew members, Ghost, and thank you, Kosiso. Yeah, Clifford, once again, thank you as well. And he's so dumb.